listeners, welcome to another great podcast. I am Satavisa. Today we have with us the founder and CEO of Uptime AI, Jagadish Gattu. Hello Jagdish, welcome to Analytics Insight. It's great to have you here.
Thanks, Satavisa. Nice to be here.
Yeah. Now, can you please give us a brief about Uptime AI and what are its services?
Sure. So, Uptime AI is essentially an enterprise AI SaaS company. It improves the profitability of manufacturing operations in heavy industries such as power, renewables, oil and gas, chemicals, cement, and others. So, for example, if you take a 600 megawatt unit in a power plant, right, a single turbine, if it fails for a day, the business loses over 4 crores of revenue. Similarly, if you take a cement plant, 40% of the cost is actually energy. So even a 2% improvement in the energy efficiency is going to save the plant, right, or the business in tens of crores. So the issue with many of these manufacturing operations is that these operations are extremely complex with a lot of interconnections and lot of equipment. So what a solution does, a solution is an AI-based application that empowers the operators in these manufacturing facilities to prevent either these equipment failures and as well as to improve the efficiency of the operations with very minimal effort.
Well, that sounds great. I'm interested about how does your solution exactly work? Can you give me some examples and use cases?
Sure. So essentially what our application does is if you take a power plant or if you take any of the plants, right, manufacturing industries, there are a lot of machines and each of these machines, they have certain sensors on them. Now, and these sensors are producing or generating data. So our application monitors this sensor data from the entire plant, right? And our application automatically understands how the equipment and how the operations are going on. So it is able to understand for a given kind of load or a given kind of outside temperature, ambient temperature, how should the equipment operate. And if there are any even a small deviation or small changes in the operations, our application can detect these smallest changes to and then notify the operator saying that there is essentially a particular problem that is happening. And our application is also able to explain to the operator that maybe there a possible leak is going on in the ducts, or maybe a possible failure in the filter is happening, so that operators can then immediately take action before the failure happens or before the losses happen, right? So this is how our solution works. You also asked about some examples or use cases, so let me take a few. So for example, in a power plant, our solution was able to detect a problem in a generator almost 10 months in advance, thereby saving several crores of rupees. Similarly, our solution also caught an issue where there was wastage of steam happening in a refinery, that was costing the business almost 3 crores of annual loss due to excessive steam. Similarly, in a cement plant, our solution also caught a problem in a cyclone in a kiln that would have brought the unit down, leading to over a crore of loss. So these are some of the examples, both from preventing equipment from failing, as well as making sure that you're using as minimum as possible in terms of energy.
Well, that sounds really interesting. You guys are doing a great job. Now, I want to ask you that regarding during the time of Industry 4.0, there have been a lot of promises regarding analytics, but now when it comes to realizing that full potential, it has been elusive. Now, what do you think? Why is that?
Yeah, this is a great question. See, I think probably the whole industry 4.0, and there was a lot of expectation, maybe almost, I think maybe 6 7 years back, right? This whole movement started. And however, like you said, the reality has not been able to meet the expectations. And I would say there are probably two reasons, main reasons. The first one is very long ROIs, return on investment. So many times what happens is people start with essentially adding a lot of sensors, right? Adding lot taking up capital expenses in terms of adding sensors. But one thing I would suggest is, in terms from a business standpoint, business is always looking to get value out of the investment, right? And the sooner you can generate the value, the better it is. So the first point I would say is, instead of looking for capex, right? Why don't the businesses should always start looking at how can they utilize the existing data, right? If you look at some of the industries I mentioned, like a power plant or refinery or chemicals, many of these are already on automated control. What that means is there are already a lot of sensors available within the plant. So for example, some of the power plants we work with, right? In a 5 unit power plant, you can have up to 20,000 sensors. So how can you take advantage of that data, right? I would say, thereby you should be able to start generating value without making a significant capital intensive project, right? That is number one. You have to find ways to reduce the time it takes to generate value. And I think that is one of the pitfalls of some of the approaches that I have seen in the industry. The second reason why industry has not been able to realize the value is because many of these solutions have are lacking operator focus. So what I mean by that is, when you talk about analytics, right? Yes, analytics is a great approach in terms of generating insights from the data. However, analytics by themselves are not the outcome, right? Analytics is essentially a tool to get the insights from the operations. So it's almost like saying, let's say if someone, I'm the operator, right? I'm trying to get insights from the analytics. But if I'm not able to understand, or if I'm not able to get the insights, instead I'm getting analytics, it is not very helpful. So for example, I want a house, but you're giving me all the brick and the cement and all the raw materials for it. um, you know how am I going to use it to actually build a house? Because I'm not a construction agent. So the point is, there needs to be a connection, or there needs to be a solution which is fully focused towards operator, and is able to provide insights from operators. And right now, majority of the solutions, right, there is no connection between the analytics and what the operator is looking for. And that's why, at Uptime AI, our core focus is, our solution is specifically designed and built for the operators, where we combine the artificial intelligence along with the subject matter knowledge.
Well, thanks, Jagdish, for explaining it so well. Now, I am curious how Uptime AI is different from its competitors.
Yeah. So basically, as I was saying, that two aspects. One, in terms of the connection between analytics and what the operators are looking for, right? Instead of saying that putting it in a very data centric approach, our solution is more geared towards operator centric approach. So instead of saying that pressure has increased 3 times, we tell the operator, there is a filter problem, right? And we also tell the operator, this is how you can actually fix it. You can try step one, step two, step three, to be able to fix the issue. And that is what an operator is looking for, in terms of what is the problem, how can they actually solve it, not that pressure has increased 2 times or pressure has decreased 3 times, right? So that connection between the two is very important, and that's what we do by connecting the AI and the subject matter knowledge. The second part is that models, right, or analytics, they cannot be static, because in 6 months you are going to, maybe the machine operations will slightly change, or there is excess, there is additional wear, or you do something in the operation, right? Now once the operation actually changes, or the machine wears a little bit more, the analytic model has to change as well. If it doesn't change, then it will start giving you wrong results. So what happens is there needs to be a connection between analytics and what the operator is looking at, in real time, on a continuous basis. And that is also something that we provide by connecting the AI and the subject matter knowledge, right? What the operator is doing, it has to feed to the analytic. And so it is an application focused for operators, keeping the analytics in the background, right? That is number one. Second part is, as I said, we also provide, because it is a very operation specific solution, meaning, it is designed for manufacturing operations. Our solution is very, very streamlined for deploying, or for deploying in these sort of manufacturing plants. And because of that, we also generate, we can give very fast return on investment. We are not looking at adding any additional sensors. We essentially utilize the existing sensors, and we are able to generate return on investment within, let's say, 3 to 6 months.
That sounds amazing. Now, you guys are doing an amazing job. What do you think? What do you mean by combining artificial intelligence with subject matter knowledge? Can you please explain to me?
Yeah. Yeah. So it was sort of it is along the lines of the example that I gave, right? See, um, as an analytics, you are processing the data, right? And you are identifying symptoms in the data. But when you talk about subject matter knowledge, right, that is essentially translating that symptoms or changes in the data to something that the operator can understand what it is that is happening, because that's what matters for the operator, right? So if you don't connect those, then it is almost like, speaking in a different language to the operator or the operations team. When you connect them together, the whatever you're saying actually makes sense to the operators. So as an example, right, it is just like, if I tell the operations engineer that there is a leakage in the duct, or there is essentially chokage in the line, the operator quickly understands what it is, right? However, if I tell the operator that there is a 3 times standard deviation change in the data, operations engineer doesn't understand that. And that's what I mean by connecting the data analytics or the AI with the subject matter knowledge, so that our application is able to talk the language that operations engineers understand. And that's why we see a lot of the operations teams, right, really like the solution, because analytics is in the background. It is not the one, they are not dealing with the analytic, they are actually dealing with the operational insights. Does that make sense?
Yeah, that sounds really great. Now, what do you think about? Do you think the market is ready for the AI-based operator assistance in India?
Yeah, that's a great question. So, see, I think, at the end of the day, right, every business is looking for improving its core profitability, right? And it is natural that economies and businesses will always move towards, solutions that can give better profitability, better efficiency overall, right? Now, if you look at the industry, not just manufacturing, but overall, right? AI has been making waves and making changes in a lot of areas. So, for example, if you look at Alexa, right, Siri, where language-based AI has grown significantly these days. The ability to understand language is actually in a AI-based application has almost surpassed humans. Similarly, nowadays there are conversational AI chatbots which are listening to people on the calls, and guiding the people in the call centers in terms of how to converse, right? So the point is, AI is making a lot of increasing the efficiency of in different areas. Now, when it comes to manufacturing, if you look at, let's take the example of power, right? Now, the power industry is going through a transition because there is a lot of renewables coming in, right? And that is changing the market dynamics. And because of that, whether it is fossil based, they are looking for more flexibilization, more flexibility in operations, right? Whether you take renewables, they are also feeling the pressure in terms of the margins. So they are looking at ways to increase their profitability or increase their margins. Now, how do you actually generate that, extra margins? The way to generate that is by being able to look at the data, look at opportunities within the data, and squeeze out that little 2% extra margin or 3% extra margin. And in a plant which has 20,000 sensors, or in a plant which has hundreds and thousands of sensors, it is humanly impossible for anybody to be able to analyze or to assess or evaluate that data to identify these issues. And that's why modern or advanced analytics and AI based solutions are extremely important. And at the end of the day, these solutions are like it says, I mean, like the name says, they are assistants of the operations engineers. They are actually helping them to identify the issues so that they can take the quick decisions. So I think, and we are already seeing it. I mean, we have deployments that we have made in Tata Power, who are actually leading the industry in terms of showcasing how AI-based applications can transform the operations and can bring, higher profitability.
Well, this makes me very hopeful full for the better market scenario in India. Now, these days, a lot of people keep saying that AI is replacing humans. I'm curious about what is your opinion on that?
Yeah, yeah. So I know that these fears are real, and I think it is important that we address them in the right way, right? I don't think we are, or the industry or the society is at a point where the AI is going to replace humans completely. I think those are in the movies, they are great as a conceptual idea, but I don't I think we are decades, or if not, we are years if not decades away from actually that happening. So right now, if you look at most of the solutions, right, whether you look at either Alexa from Amazon or Siri from iPhone, or some of the AI assistant type applications like Grammarly, they are basically assistants. They are trying to help the humans become, or help the humans to be more efficient. So I don't think AI is going to replace humans in the near future. It is the solutions that either we are providing or others in the industry are providing. They're all meant to support and supplement the humans so that they don't have to look at the more mundane tasks, but instead take the insights and do the decision making, right? Which is where humans can really outperform general analytics.
Sounds quite interesting. Now, can you please tell me a little more about the evolution of customers from condition monitoring to predictive maintenance through the years?
Sure, sure. This is quite a interesting journey, right? If we start from all the way from, let's say, industrial revolution, right, when people started using machines, and manufacturing started booming, right? Immediately people realize that we don't want the equipment to fail, right? We don't want the operations to be inefficient because that's costing a lot of money. So the first way to address it is by looking at or by measuring certain parameters, right? And that's how the condition monitoring started. So to be able to measure the existing or the operation, or the condition of the operations, or the condition of the machine, right? Now, over a period of time, people have realized that if let's say there is only one parameter, a person can monitor that, no problem, right? They can monitor that parameter maybe every hour, right? There's no issue. But then as the plant and the machines, got more and more complex, the one signal became 10 signals, and the 10 signals became 100 signals, and now we have thousands of signals, right? And as the amount of data started to increase, the need for more tools or better tools to be able to monitor this data started to arise, right? And that's how the condition monitoring evolved from a manual monitoring to a more basic threshold based monitoring, right? Wherein you have a rule which says if this value is higher than a certain number, there is an alert generated, right? To essentially where we are now with AI expert and what Uptime AI is offering, where we are able to now monitor the entire plant, almost all, let's say 20,000 sensors, right? And the solution is able to monitor, all the 20,000 sensors to be able to identify problems in the operations. And that's the level that we have reached. And we are not only able to monitor all the 20,000 sensors, but we are able to predict the problems, right, well in advance, so that operators are much more prepared, right, to address these problems before they even start hitting the business. And we have seen in the recent COVID, right, there were multiple issues. I mean, there were accidents in power plants, there were leakages in chemical plants, especially when people are not around, right? It's very important. It's not only a matter of business profitability, but it's also a matter of safety. So it's very important to be able to utilize such technology and such tools to improve the both profitability as well as the safety of these operations.
Amazing. Now I'm interested to know about some of the challenges that you must have faced during the growing years and how you have handled them.
Yeah, yeah. So as a younger business, right, who's we are trying to change the manufacturing operations. We are trying to make the manufacturing operations more efficient, as well as make the businesses more profitable. So in the process, we have been fortunate to be able to have great team, which is as dedicated as we are to the cause of improving the or transforming the manufacturing operations. And our team has put in a lot of effort in terms of both the advances in terms of the analytics. We have multiple patents in the space in terms of how we are able to help the operators, right? And those are essentially some of the hard things where we were able to get great team. And also we are also blessed with having really good customers like Tata Power, who have been thought leaders in the space, as well as BPCL, where we have been able to deploy our solution, as well as in North America, right? There are clients in North America who are very much interested in what we are doing, and getting those opportunities to prove the solution, to make the deployment, and to show what we can deliver to the business has been very important. And those are the essentially things that have really helped us grow during these even during the years of COVID.
That sounds great. Now, lastly, I want to ask you what are the future plans that you have in mind for the growth of Uptime AI?
Yeah, yeah. Thanks. So, look, I mean, we have already shown that our solution is able to deliver value, and we have been able to deliver 100% ROI within 3 months of deployment, right? And we have also been able to showcase that our solution is able to solve the problems much faster for the operations teams compared to other solutions in the market, right? With lower effort. And so right now there is a lot of interest from both in terms of renewables, in terms of cement. Even we are working with very large clients, global clients, both in the US as well as in the Middle East, in Southeast Asia. So we have a very exciting lineup of clients who are where we are going to start working with them. So along with that, we are also looking to grow quite significantly, in the next year. So we are looking forward to both, from a growth perspective in terms of the team as well as in terms of the client base, across the globe.
That sounds amazing. I'm sure this is definitely going to help all of our listeners too. Thank you, Jagdish, for joining us today. It was great talking to you. And I'm looking forward to seeing many more innovative solutions coming from your end.
Thank you, Sudha. It's a pleasure talking to you. Thanks for giving us this opportunity. Looking forward to more interactions, and do let us know if there are any questions that come your way.
Definitely. Thank you.